like to kick off the summit by hearing from our host AD and our founder. Many of you know Dr. Leonard Moore, my former professor and the greatest man on this planet, and his passion for seeing student athletes develop. You will hear more from him later, but you probably don't know our host AD, Jennifer Cohen. Jennifer Cohen was appointed USC's Director of Athletics on August 21st, 2023. She is one of the country's most established athletic directors and is the first woman to lead the Trojans athletic department. Cohen arrived at USC with 3 decades of intercollegiate athletics experience, most recently serving as the athletic director at Washington since 2016. During her tenure at Washington, the Huskies saw incredible success on the field of competition across all sports. She led her student athletes to thrive in the classroom as Washington posted its highest ever department-wide NCAA graduation success rate for the 2022-2023 year. She was also instrumental in leading Washington's successful effort to join the Big Ten Conference in 2024. Before arriving at Washington, Cohen held a variety of roles in intercollegiate athletics administration at Pacific Lutheran, Puget Sound, and Texas Tech. A native of Arcadia, California, Cohen received her bachelor's degree from San Diego State and her master's degree in physical education from Pacific Lutheran. Please welcome Dr. Moore and USC AD Jennifer Cohen.
Good morning.
Just leave me open.
What's good? Right, good to see everybody. We started this about 9 years ago with 70 people in a room at the University of Texas. So give yourselves a hand for being here. The growth has been nothing but amazing. In the early years of the summit, there were a few ADs across the country who were very instrumental in supporting us. And one of them was Jen Cohen, who's at the University of Washington. Every year they would bring a big contingent down to Austin, and they've been supportive. So I was kind of excited when she got the job here last year. So let's give Jen Cohen a hand. All right. So Jen, I think we got some UW folks somewhere over here. There they go. There you go.
What's up, dogs?
So Jen, most people know your story, but you had your dream job at the University of Washington. Could have probably been there for the rest of your career. You had things rolling. The football team did extremely well last year. What made you decide to leave your dream job and come to USC?
Yeah, first of all, shout out to all the Huskies in the house, because the University of Washington gave me every opportunity and every experience to grow and develop, to be here sitting on this stage at this beautiful campus of USC. I think just like our student athletes and everything you're trying to do to grow and develop, all of us that work in this business are trying to grow and develop too. There's no destination, right, to what we're trying to do. You never arrive in anything in leadership. And so I felt so proud of the experiences and the people. Really, it's all about the people at UW, and felt like if there was ever going to be a time that I could leave Washington in good hands, it was the time, last summer, to do that. And so I have strong ties to Southern California. I was born in LA. My parents are from LA. And I've always been keeping my eye on USC. I think this is a uniquely special place that has cared deeply about broad-based athletics and success and academics at the highest level. And so I thought it was time to stretch myself and challenge myself and do something different. And boy, has this been a stretch, and boy, has this been a challenge. And it's an honor to serve USC.
Yeah, it is a big job. Pressure cooker, always under the microscope. How have you managed the what's been the most difficult part of the transition for you?
Well, let's talk a little bit about pressure, because I like this conversation. Let me go back in time about mindset and leadership. So when I was growing up, I never thought I was good enough. I had all kinds of things in my head. Most of the time we tell ourselves stories that aren't true, especially when we're younger and we're trying to figure out who we are and who we want to be. And so I had a chip on my shoulder, my whole career, childhood into my career, I was going to prove you wrong. And that gave me a lot of energy, and it gave me a lot of momentum for a long time, right? You can accomplish a lot with that mindset, but when you get to a level of the highest level of leadership, where you're so responsible for so many other people's experiences, you can't think that way, because pressure is ego. process is love, right? And so I think for me, when I became AD at Washington and through this transition here, what's really helped me is I've started to really understand that I already belong. I don't have to prove, I almost swore, sorry.
You can.
I don't have to prove to anybody else. And that, my best way to serve others is to be confident in myself enough to just serve and not worry about any of the other outside noise. So that's just a philosophy, kind of a mindset thing that lends itself to the fact that this has been the hardest transition of my life. We were talking about it backstage.
But you're enjoying it.
Well, I love LA and I love SC, and I am enjoying it. It's just a very different feel. A lot of people think, because you're in the largest market, very high profile school and program, that the pressure must feel very excruciating. It's been really the opposite feeling for me. I think all those years of relationships built at Washington were so interwoven into my core and my being that I started to feel overwhelmed at times about that. So here it's a kind of a fresh start to give back. It's a give back that's very different than anything I've ever had in my life, in my career.
So I think this is the most high profile job in the country.
Yeah,
folks on my campus say it's the Texas job. Folks at Ohio State, where I went to school, say it was Ohio State job, right?
Yeah.
We got some Buckeyes in the house. Where my HBCU folks at? Well, we own it. We got a few in the house. All right. All right. So, do you feel as black folks, Jen, when we get a big position, high profile?
Yeah.
We take the burden of the entire race with us.
Yeah.
Like if I fail at this, nobody else black will get an opportunity. As a woman, do you carry that same burden?
Oh, yeah, because people still only think of you being in the... I have people here that think I got the job because I was a woman.
Wow.
And so I remember this so clearly when I got the job at Washington, because again, it's a very vulnerable thing to share, but I had so many insecurities growing up that I didn't think about just my gender as something that was holding me back, because I had decided to label a bunch of other things about myself that made me inadequate. And so I never really focused too much on my gender throughout my career until I became the AD at Washington. And I remember so vividly how much more important it was to everybody else and the responsibility of that. And then thankfully I had that experience and kind of learned it and developed in it. And then so to be prepared to be the first female athletic director here at USC, I knew other people would be thinking about that, and other people want you to fail. And it's the same thing. I know I've hired black coaches that when they failed, or if they failed, it was people literally labeled it because of the color of their skin. And it's the same thing for women, because there's so few women in college athletics leadership at the Power 5 level. The gender gets kind of attached to your performance.
No, you were at some smaller schools, right? Puget Sound. Where did you go? Puget Sound?
It's Puget Sound.
Puget.
He called it Puget Sound.
It's
Puget.
Puget Sound.
Puget Sound.
And a lot of young professionals, we got a lot of student athletes here, young professionals, they want to start off immediately at the, let's say, maybe the Power 5 level.
Yeah.
What was the value in coming from those smaller schools and sort of working your way up?
Yeah, I mean, I would never trade those years. I worked at 2 different D3 schools, Pacific Lutheran University, where I was the world's worst assistant volleyball coach as a graduate student, and then University of Puget Sound after that, and I did those 2 schools, and maybe it was like a 4 or 5 year period. And for me, I still look back on that time as those were like foundational years for me on the value construct that I still operate off of today. So one is that there still should be purity and beauty in sports. Like sports still should be about opportunity and education and the development of humans and community and good and giving back. And yes, there's a bunch of other stuff that comes with it, especially at the level that many of you and competing at and what we work at. But I learned that about serving students and the pureness of that, and that was instilled in me. The other thing is you gotta grind. And I think there's a misinterpretation for a lot of people that think that once you elevate in any job, that somehow the grind gets less. The grind gets worse, the grind gets harder, the decisions are harder, The political pressures are harder. The responsibility is more difficult. So I mean, I was sweeping floors and fixing the shot clock off ladders and doing like 7 different jobs at those 2 schools. And I had one of the greatest mentors, female mentor at the time, and she's just like, this is how we work.
Yeah.
You're working for them, for you. She made it really clear to me very early that I was here to work for students. And so I will never forget that. And also just the appreciation of like, give me a break. We're not bigger than we think. I hate it when people think in leadership that they're bigger than somebody else. You know, get over yourselves. Yeah. And so I think half the time I walk around here and I don't even think I'm the AD. I did that at Washington. I'd be like, why are people looking at me? And I think that that's good though, because it just helps you keep yourself real. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at that. I'm a show at it sometimes, but I have a foundation from it that I'm really grateful for.
How do you handle how do you handle
Is this
disrespect?
recorded right now?
No, it's not recorded. It's not live stream, put it that way. All right.
Okay, that's my last.
Not live stream. Okay.
Been working on that since
How do you handle disrespect in a meeting?
That happens a lot. I would say sometimes not.
I don't handle it very well.
So sometimes not as well as I would like.
Okay.
I've really worked. So I have a very fiery temper. And not just personality, but actually like I go 1 to 1,000 with my temper. Pretty quick snap situation that has happened. So I think part of it is like actually I've had to practice like little things like breathing exercises and like
in the moment.
In the moment, breathing exercises through the nose, out through the mouth. I do a word in that I'm feeling, a word out that I want to actually change my emotional reaction to what's going on. So I actually do all those things. I really have found that in a meeting where you're being disrespected, if you match the disrespect, there's a reason why you're getting labeled that way. That's unfair already. And if you match it, they get to win. And so I've tried, but I also will fight back when I think it's necessary because I think you have to fight too. So it's a fine line. We just had this. We just had Big 10 meetings and about revenue share. And we had some pretty tough meetings and conversations. And there's certain things that I will stand up for, even if it makes me labeled and unpopular. And
I want to talk about the role of mentors real quick.
Yeah.
You know, I tell all my students, your first job out of college, I could be wrong. I don't think it's about the salary. I don't think it's about the title. I don't think it's about the location. I think it's about who you're going to report to.
yeah.
Because I believe who you report to can really, really shape your career. So can you talk about, if you think my advice is good, and talk about the role of mentors in your life?
I think your advice is so good that it should apply for every stage of your career.
That's good. Yeah.
Not just some stages of your career. Because all of us have chased something for the wrong reason and found ourselves miserable because we were thinking too much about title or salary. And I'm not saying that money doesn't matter, because of course it matters. It's opportunity for people. But I think that who you're with and what they stand for ultimately leads to more opportunity and better, growth for you long-term. Mentors are everything, and they come with experience. I think that a lot of times we're trying to find them, and sometimes they're not there yet because we just need to get, oh, hi, Dr. Green. How are you? I'll stop swearing for sure now. Shout out to our faculty athletic director, Dr. Green. And so I've been really fortunate because I've had mentors every step of the way along my journey. In fact, it was kind of cool when we were celebrating Women's History Month. I got interviewed about women mentors. It was the first time anybody had ever really asked me specifically about that. And so the best thing about mentors is that they're some of the rare people that tell you the truth. And when you're younger, you need that for like the coaching and the development to kind of help you navigate. And when you're more experienced, you still need the coaching and the development to navigate, but you don't have access. When you get in a position like this, you genuinely do not have access to as many people that you can trust, that can not have an agenda with you. And so having people that you know have your back, and I think about it a few ways. I think about mentorship and taking feedback in character. I have these C's when I think about it: character, consistency, and competency. So does the person demonstrate character all the time? Are they consistently in this space enough to actually understand what you're dealing with and can give you good counsel? And competency, do they understand it? Do they have their own sets of experiences in their life that they can practically bring to you? And so I think about that in any interaction with mentors.
Critical.
Yeah.
A couple more questions. With all the money being thrown around,
What?
as it relates to football,
Yeah.
there is some feeling that the women's sports will get cannibalized.
Yeah. Yeah.
There won't be many opportunities. And I have a daughter who plays basketball at University of North Texas, another daughter on the cheer team at Jackson State. And so there's this belief that all the money will go to football and the women's sports will go back to like they were 40 years ago. Hand me down, I'm just saying, what is your take on that?
I mean, I think there's a lot of unknowns and fears and concerns because when there's no clarity, people go to the worst case scenario in their minds anyways, right? And so I think that we think about this new model, that was announced yesterday of revenue share. I mean, it's my fundamental belief that revenue is supposed to be shared between the men and the women.
Yeah.
And I think that we've never seen women's sports more engaging for others. You need others to engage.
Yeah.
We can't just believe in it. We have to get other people to believe in it too. Never have we seen such interest in women's sports as high as it is right now. And so I believe that women's sports are going to continue to grow. I really do, because people are consuming, finally appreciating the value that women athletes bring to the table.
Last question. So, will the Notre Dame USC rivalry continue? I have a son.
He threw a little curveball in
I have
here.
a son who'll be at Notre Dame in 2 weeks.
We're still playing those guys. I can't imagine a time when we don't. And obviously the future of college football is really unclear too, but it's a beautiful and incredible rivalry. It's something that we're committed to continuing to do here at USC.
So we'll see you Thanksgiving weekend when the Fighting Irish roll in there.
Let's go.
Where my Fighting Irish folks at? There they go. Something right here.
We're going to get payback after last year.
Let's give Jen Cohen a hand. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.